100%. No droids, no bounty hunters, no Raylos, no Disney sequel trilogy fans of any kind. You know, we don't tolerate trolls. You're gone the moment you show up. In my chat, you're out of here. Anyway, want to talk a little bit about some things. It's really funny. I was screwing around here on YouTube and I found a wonderful thing about Lucille Ball. She was the first female studio head in Hollywood history. She ran Desilu. She created Mission Impossible and she gave Star Trek a chance, amongst other things. Brilliant, funny, beautiful, tough woman. So when I hear, rewriting Ripley bitches or, Molly, hey, Senna Dave, or any of these other wretched girls going on about how powerful and wonderful Kathleen Kennedy is and how she's a glass ceiling breaker. She's not. She's not. They don't know their history. And in fact, Kathy is one of the biggest phonies in Hollywood. In a forest of phonies, she is the giant sequoia. Okay? But we've talked about how everything decent she's ever done has, been the result of men's creativity, not women's. I don't mind saying that. I'm not saying women aren't creative, but I'm saying the things that she's been a part of have been written by men, directed and produced by men. And she basically, as far as I can see in a lot of this production stuff, got dragged along by Spielberg or her own husband. Not on her own. Look what she's done on her own. The failing sequel trilogy that everybody hates. A group of novels laying down the groundwork for the bullshit dumpster fire sequel trilogy that are either boring, poorly written, or diatribes of social justice warrior vomit. And of course, you get the High Republic. It's very interesting to me that with all this stuff going down, we have this going on. And what I want to say is this. This is regarding rewriting Ripley, the awesome geode. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. This is regarding rewriting Ripley and just Kennedy's failures in everything. I'll explain something to you guys. Kathy, I know that if there's somebody from Lucasfilm that will see this or is watching now, I have three people, and Sin and Dave is chatting, but two other people aren't. You're a failure. You haven't done anything. You've divided and pissed off the fans. You've pitted people against each other. That's not what George Lucas ever intended. I don't know why you're making us the bad guys when you have produced garbage. If you don't like being told you produced garbage, that's on you, okay? Every day, people in this wide world get fired for doing less of it, for doing a more competent job, Kathy and Lucasfilm, than you guys have. Okay? I've seen it. All right? You're talking to somebody that has been out there, done it, seen it, lived all over the world, speaks 2 languages. All right? I can't imagine how you wake up every morning feeling like you've conquered your goals. What were your goals? To destroy what George built? Because I'm going to tell you something. It appears to me that there's a lot of resentment, and the resentment is from Kathy. I would say I agree with a lot of people when they say that she hates George. I openly attack. I mean, covertly attacks him through this garbage that she's okaying. Well, Feige's not stupid. There's another thing. Kathy, and I've had, she's Baizuo. She's a leftist American, a white leftist. And it's interesting enough now the Chinese are using that against them, which I think is pretty interesting because they couldn't use that against Trump. But now that the weakling bitches are in so-called in charge, the Chinese are shitting all over all of us. That's really great. But if that's a different thing, I want to talk about it. Kevin Feige's smart. Okay. Kevin Feige's a guy. Kevin Feige understands things. Kathy is a left-wing Baizuo female. Okay. Or Baizuo, okay. I know if Dan shows up, he's going to correct me, so Baizuo. And he or she isn't aware of any of this. Her ideology and her fucked up moral compass, and the females that put her on her, styrofoam fucking pedestal, don't have a moral compass, and they don't realize how bad this all is. Okay? And between me, you guys, and the brick wall, it is bad. All right? Because in order to run a business, you have to learn that you run a business, you got to earn money. And if you're not earning money, the business is failing. Well, we all know that right now, Lucasfilm is in the red. Now, you could get some jackass show up here going, oh no, they're earning money, blah, 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 they broke even. And then they'll bring up the gross box office, and I'll go. Or they'll bring up the first comic book for High Republic had to do a reprint. That, if you know how the comic book industry runs, is meaningless, okay? Fucking quit it. You're talking to people who know. I'm not rationalizing anything, okay? This is abject failure. And what pisses me off about Kennedy and her ilk, they don't understand it's hurting everybody around them. No, it's not breaking even. Gross box office of 4.5 billion when they were sold for 4.3 is not successful. Because Disney invested about $7 billion, and they've got $2 billion to show for it. And everything else is failing. Here's the deal. The only merchandising company that isn't canceling the Gina Carano thing is Sideshow Collectibles. They're not. Now. It's expensive as hell, and I would say they're probably doing it because they've already got these things under production, and they can't quit. So they're like, we're going to do it. Maybe if they sell out of these things, maybe Hasbro will go fuck you to Lucasfilm and start building them again. Oh, I know, Senator Dave. Here's the deal. There's the only thing that stopped Star Wars from being far more successful than Marvel and DC and all the rest of that stuff that I have no fucks to give over is Kathy Kennedy. It's her. It's her. It's her letting and enabling through her bizarro obsession with politics and women's rights, and the phantom patriarchy that she seems to be obsessed with, and enabling again, Pablo Hidalgo is 47 years old. What the fuck? Okay, I want you just all to just sit back and go, behaving like an unprofessional scumbag. All right, Matt Martin. I mean, they're in so deep with rewriting Ripley that if it ends up going to, they get sued, and it's open up for discovery. And I'm going to say this: the former Lucasfilm social media person, she didn't write. She wrote the article, not Kate, whatever the fuck her name is, and that Lady V chick. She wrote it because she's the only one connected to this that was qualified. And she was introduced to the victim of her own making, Kate. It's high time this shit ended. And I really think that Jeremy of the Quartering is probably going to do something. And I would strongly urge Jeremy Griggs at Geeks and Gamers to do something about it. You know, I don't know if losing money is necessarily the impetus to be allowed to sue. It seems like EVS kind of said that in one of his streams that if he loses his YouTube channel, he will sue them. But, you know, now this hysteria is gone. And I'm going to say this. I think Kennedy's bullshit steeped over into that bitch who runs Warner Brothers. I do too, but I don't know what the parameters are, if you know what I mean. What would be the trigger to say, okay, we're going after him? Is it, I've lost a significant portion of my income? Because that's what EVS was saying. I don't know. It's fascinating to me, all this shit happening. But, you know, they really need to take a hold of themselves. They're disrespectful to everybody around them that doesn't agree with them. You know, Mark, Gospel Mark with a C, did a video, and he's basically saying they're going after all of us. And it's so stupid. It's short-sighted. It's petty. It's gross. They're not gonna win in the end. It's, you know, when you see what the woman who runs Warner Brothers Media said about you know, Snyder Cut fans and calling them toxic, it's like, do you really want to lose money? And I honestly think if Warner Brothers had stayed out of, you know, Uche's charity stream with Zach, if they had just stayed out of it, I don't think she'd be coming out and saying that. I think what they forced Zack Snyder to do was so fucking heinous that, and everybody knew it. And I think I'm not impressed with Zack Snyder. I don't think he's the sharpest knife in the drawer. But when you're talking about the denizens of Hollywood, at least the younger crowd, it's very far between that you can actually find someone who's not white trash. Hey, Sakori, and I mean that. I mean, look at Jennifer Lawrence. She didn't even graduate grade school. I don't think she made it past 8th grade. What the fuck? But she's telling everybody what we should and shouldn't do. Now, I'm going to say this. As someone whose father left high school as a sophomore, but the extenuating circumstances were, it was the Great Depression, and his parents needed him to go out and get a job so he could help put food on the table. That's a little bit different than whatever impetus Jennifer Lawrence had for, you know, leaving high school in 8th grade. It's not like she's a giant intellect. It's not like she's Elon Musk and graduated college at 12. Good. That's good. I'm glad you did that. It's very interesting to me just how many of them really are just, when you think about it, and I'm gonna go into Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy is a film school graduate back in 1971, which means by the time she got up to Hollywood in what, 77, she was already behind the times as far as technology and where film was going. And that's a strike. The fact that you can tell that she's not well written. I mean, her biggest claim to fame is she ran a talk show in San Diego. Okay. Whoopi Twang. I mean, glorified, Oprah. Woo woo. Ooh, on radio. Not that that's a bad thing. Okay. But it kind of says where she's coming from. Then you've got, Mark Hamill. He's really not that well educated. Carrie Fisher never went to college. I think no, she went to. Didn't she go to acting school in England? But she was smart. There's a difference, though. There's a difference, though, in this. That was a generation that actually read books. Now, I'm going to say this right out. I think you probably you could have had a conversation and disagree with Carrie Fisher. I don't think you could with Mark. I think he is really out to lunch as far as politics and ideology and all that. I mean, he's like, same thing with people like George Takei. They focus on themselves, okay, and that's a lot of Democrats do that. You take the older people, Spielberg, Hanks, Lucas, Harrison Ford, and they understand the world. They understand what's out there. I mean, I think Ford more than anybody, because he's not just an actor, he's a pilot. He does historical aircraft stuff. And the people that run the Collins Foundation, for instance, the Reading Air, World War II fly-in, all these other things. Not all of them are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats. I guarantee you most of them are Republicans. I guarantee you most of them are patriotic Americans. There's an old type of liberal that you could actually have a conversation with and be friends with, okay? You can't anymore. People like Kathleen Kennedy have ruined it. And the reason simply is this. They've embraced their inner fascist, okay? They've embraced mythology, the fictions that don't exist. This patriarchy, bull fucking shit. Where is it? Didn't exist when I was a kid. They embrace lies like women and men are exactly the same and can do the same things. No, we can't. All right, here's the deal. I could probably put a cabinet door on my cabinets. All right, I can't hang the cabinets. I'm not strong enough. I need workmen to come and do it. All right. I work with the crazy thoroughbred mare. My husband couldn't do it. He doesn't have experience. All right. I shoot trap. Hubby is still trying to learn it. It's a completely different mindset. You point and shoot. You point and pull the trigger. It's not squeezing. It's not, trigger control and sight alignment. It's point the shotgun and shoot. And, we complement each other. The equality, that's where the equality is. It's not, what they're looking for is equity, and equity is not equality. Okay? Equity is everybody's all fucked up together, which I don't want. Nobody else does. Everybody rises at their own pace, and if they're smart, takes advantage of whatever opportunities is there. Everybody has their own regrets. Everybody lives their own lives. Women the same as men. And that's men and women in a nutshell. That's who we are. That's what we do. And it's kind of interesting to me that there's a generation raised by women like Kathleen Kennedy, the bra burning, my body, my choice, and all the rest of that fucking shit. I want to be a slut, and you want me to respect you? All right, you want to be a receptacle for STDs, you know? And what's really interesting is the forefront front of all that shit, women's sexual liberation, is a guy named Hugh Hefner. All right. Now, I have a really close friend who was a bunny. She worked at the New York Club. Knew his brother very well. I think Hugh's brother actually taught the girls how to do the bunny dip. When they put the drink down like that. And he talked about sexual liberation and the pill and all that. It's just a way for a greasy misogynist like him to take advantage of women. And yet, when you hear the girls talk about him, he actually treated them with more respect than these beta males that follow women like Kathleen Kennedy around. It's true. It really, really is true. He also was part and party to a lot of really bad things. Like, I blame him for what happened to Dorothy Stratton. He didn't step in when he should have. He knew what was going on with her. He knew exactly what her husband was like. Bogdanovich, he didn't stand in and do anything. It's like, you guys, you talk about all this liberation and sexual liberation and all this, and you vote left, you vote Democrat, and all the rest of this shit. And yet, when those girls that you liberated get themselves in a situation where the guy is a psychopath, you did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. When Dorothy went to go see her ex-husband, and Bogdanovich knew she was going to go do it, he should have stepped in and said, no, you're not going to do it. No, you're not. He's going to do something bad, because they all knew it. Hugh knew it too. It's like, fuck you. I mean, that's why when I tell girls, if a guy's virtue signaling feminism, stay the fuck away from him. Run the other way as fast as you can. A guy doesn't say it, he does it. Okay? And my father, if anybody hurt me or my sisters, would have been, you know how a lion protects his pride? Oh yeah, you know how an alpha wolf protects his pack? Yeah. And he had 4 other alpha wolves, my brothers, who would have been more than happy to jump in. All right. But he also knew that, we could be taught at least a way to protect ourselves. That's why I learned to shoot. All right. That's why I carry concealed. You don't know who's out there. I'm on the internet. I'm known. I've had stalkers before. I've got one right now. Okay, is he ever going to answer? Is he going to ever show up at my door? Oh, he's going to be surprised because he's not going to be happy when he does. That's all I'm going to say. Women. The only thing that makes a woman a true physical equal to a man is what she's carrying on her hip, and that's not a baby. All right. That's something called SIG, Smith & Wesson, Beretta, Hellcat, Glock. Okay, period, full stop. All right? You want to be an equal to a man in a fight? Even Gina Carano would get beaten up by a guy who's in good shape. She would. He gets his hands on you, you're fucked. Okay? That's one thing I learned from talking to guys who fight. If the bigger guy, I don't know, Sakori, but they do. If the bigger guy gets his hands on a smaller guy, it's over. It's over. And women don't have the bone density of men and don't have the muscle mass. We are not physically as strong or stronger. That's why I'm going to be very brutally honest. States are making it so trans women can't take part in women's athletics, okay? Because they're not really women, all right? Biology. If you want to, go through the surgery and stuff, that's on you, okay? But, I'm not going to give you a parade for it, okay? I'm not. It's that I don't celebrate things like that. I think it's sad. I really, really do, but that's just me. It's, you kind of like to understand why. And but anyway, I don't want to talk about that, but, you know, but these women, Kathleen Kennedy and this woman who runs Warner Studios, they actually think they're literally the equals, physically, mentally, I mean, we can get into that, etc., of men. Let me tell you where I've seen equals. Horses, dogs. Female dogs aren't as big as male dogs, but the shit goes down. A female dog is every bit the hard ass as a male dog. Second of all, stallions can't just walk up to any mare and mount him. She has to be in heat. If she's not, she'll kick the shit out of him. Okay? And, I'll give you an example. That racing mare, Zenyatta, she's 17'2". She's a giant. She's huge. She's been bred to stallions who are inches shorter and smaller than her. Ruffian was bigger in every way than Secretariat. Okay? There you go. Those are not human beings. Okay? They're not evolved from primates. They're equines. They're canines. Okay? There you go. Human females are equal because of what we do that men can't do. Oh, Asia, me too. We're equal to them because of things we can do. Giving birth, being the emotional person in the thing. You get a bunch of females together and you're gonna have an emotional roller coaster. You get a bunch of men together and you'll have a bunch of oversexed weirdos together. There's the difference right there. All right, there's a difference right there. I had a friend who's he's searching around and doing a lot of things, and he's had a very, very difficult life. Trying to leave something and leaving something behind that left him physically hurt, physically, not just emotionally. And it's very interesting reading some of the things he's written. He gets verbally shit on by the woke crowd because of walking away from the way he lived. Okay. And it's really, really sad. And I feel bad for him. Okay. And that does happen. I mean, I'm going to tell you, when I look at these girls from Rewriting Ripley and the picture I saw of them, they're both attractive girls, blondes. They should be dating. They should be working. Hey, Dave. They should be out there doing things that, yeah, that's really great story, man, Jack. I think maybe everybody should. I think I might call investor relations for both Disney and Warner Brothers and just say, either you start listening to the fans and getting me money back for my buck, or I'm out. Okay. It's all just very interesting to me that you can't walk away from it. If you're a female and you're not woke enough, they shit on you. But they treat you like you're dumb. They don't treat you like, okay, so she's just finding her own way. All right, they treat you like you're dumb. I saw it in my own family. I would defend my father and him wanting to, teach me how to do things, clean fish, shoot ducks, call geese, train dogs, and all this and all that stuff. I mean, I would help him do a lot of these things. And I would think that if you saw that and you were a liberated female, you would be like, you know, it's really great that our dad is doing that because, you know, it's different than we grew up. Because I didn't grow up in the 50s and 60s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And, you know, and this is why I don't get these women. Women are liberated, all right? We can make up our own minds on stuff. And that is the bottom line, okay? I left my career. I didn't want to work in politics anymore. I'm afraid it would have put me in an early grave because it was so like this all the time. And I can't, I would rather sit back by the bonfire watching the dog play with a toy or something. Well, it's not Hollywood. It's Disney, and I really think that the attacks on the fans are an act of desperation anymore. I really, really do. These people really don't understand the real world. You know, I would like to see some of these people live. You're welcome. You're welcome, Borke. I would like to see some of the people that I know live on the money that a lot of us make. I don't live in a small house. We work our asses off, okay? You know, we're not poor. We're not wealthy, but we're not poor. None of these people could survive on this. They would die. They would fucking die. Okay, first off, they'd starve. Second of all, Kathleen Kennedy driving down the street in a 2014 Ford Escape would be literally with a door that's been screwed up, would be the funniest goddamn thing I'd ever seen in my life. I would love to see that. They can't, they don't understand. They don't, and again, I'm going to say that so badly, are the people who are really white trash. Okay, mention Jennifer Lawrence. Let's talk about Asia Argento. If you look at her father, it was basically a sexually abusive house. I'm not kidding you. A person who tends to call themselves sophisticated in Europe is a garbage human. Okay, a garbage human. They don't value people. Okay, same thing in Hollywood. Look at, I mean, Rose McGowan at least understands. Oh no, she doesn't. You're right, Dave, she doesn't. Rose McGowan, for instance, at least she gets it now. She understands. Oh, you could do that Red October. That would be funny. Give it a left or right side passenger, backseat passenger door with a dent in it. Because that's mine. It was a long story too. My fault. Haven't gotten it fixed. I'm hoping within the next couple of years getting a new vehicle. I like my vehicle, but I want a Jeep because hubby's got one, and now I got car envy. Anyway, you know, they're white trash. These people. I mean, look at him, Johnny Depp. I'm gonna ask you a question. When you see pictures of him going out, does he look like an elegant movie star, or does he look like he smells? Oh, I will. He looks like he smells. Old Hollywood is Clint Eastwood and Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg. And, you know, God bless Carrie Fisher's soul, but her and her mother. And it's going away. All right. It's it's the last of those guys. Okay. What we got now is a bunch of, I'm going to say it. I mean, look at Russell Crowe. You know, when he first got there, he tried his might to be a movie star. He would dress nice and look decent. Now he's just an old drunk. Ray Fiennes, at least Ray Fiennes can actually clean up well. But he's a fucked up mess too. I mean, you look at these people and it's like, you're a role model? You are? You know, and to Lethal Lightning and Ryan Cannell and all these. Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Well, Christopher Nolan is awesome. I mean, he's like a throwback, but they're very rare. You know, but I want to give this little piece of advice to the guys. Anuche should know this because he was a professional football player. Even heroes are human. Pappy Boyington said, show me a hero, I'll show you a bum." Now, I think Dave Pensack knows who Pappy Boyington was. Maybe some of the rest of you guys. Greg Boyington was a Marine Corps fighter pilot. He flew F-4U Corsairs. The Japanese called them Whistling Death. And I think he flew them with a squadron. They called them the Black Sheep, and there's a TV show about them, over the New Caledonia, the islands in the Pacific. And Robert Conrad, yeah, played him in the TV show. I'm going to tell you something. Boeington was a great pilot and a hero, but he was an alcoholic and not a nice guy at all. That's just how it is. They're human beings. They have flaws. Thomas Jefferson, a hero. He had flaws. You know, you know, John Adams had a temper and couldn't keep his mouth shut. I'm sure every one of them did. They're humans. So when you meet someone, you gotta understand the pedestal you put them on is false. I know that about every one of these guys, even George Lucas. George Lucas is stubborn. He doesn't want to hear somebody else's idea if they're talking about Star Wars or whatever. It was far easier to collaborate with on Indiana Jones because he opened himself up to collaboration on that. Okay. You know, Harrison Ford is stubborn. He's had his own personal issues. You know, 3 marriages, la la la. Problems, I think, with alcohol too. Every once in a while, a binge would occur. But overall, a great guy. Both of them are overall great guys. But you got to remember, you're talking about a human being with all the same foibles you have. Okay. You know, here's the thing you got to remember if you're Christian or Jewish. Heaven really is full of sinners. And how you can't approach the throne of God being impure. It's called oh yeah, she was born under a bad sign. It's called repentance. It's called forgiveness. It's called being perfected through suffering and what life throws at you. Your soul gets sharpened by life. Okay? That's what it is. And that's why. And when people say, oh no, it's like, you need to go back and read. Okay? And that's the thing, is we got to remember that. We're looking at a fellow soul traveling on this earth who's no better than you are. Okay? And that's the thing about Hollywood. That's the thing when I look at, Leslie Helen, Queen Kathy. I mean, talk about fake ass shit. Okay. And that's the bottom line. None of these people, and I'm talking about the Kathy Kennedys and the loudmouths, the Mark Ruffalo's, the Sean Penns, who was abusive to Madonna when they were married, and Robin Wright when they were married. All these people, they're phonies. They're not who they pretend to be. I mean, Johnny Depp, despite being kind of a slob in my opinion, is actually a decent guy. He really really is. He's a weirdo, but a man who makes his life a profession at pretending to be somebody else all the time has got to have a few screws loose. Okay, just from me to you guys. It's just very interesting how all of this is sort of coming to a head now, and that we have to deal with as adults a bunch of people who are, some of them are our age. I mean, Pablo Hidalgo is Generation X. Okay. A lot of the people attacking the fans are our age. They're adults. They're acting like, preteen brats. And we have to deal with it. And I don't know, excuse me, how it's going to play out, but the companies are very serious companies. And what I know of, and this is for the feminists out there, is the people running the big hedge funds are not happy. I wouldn't be happy at all with any of this. I would be really, 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 really angry at a lot of this because they're taking money out of my account. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I'm going to tell you this. A friend of mine actually spent a lot of time with Mel Gibson. Mel is a mad genius, all right? He's an artist, and when you get right down to it, a lot of the people who are really creative and really do an amazing job in Hollywood are bat crap crazy. Okay. Hitchcock, bat crap crazy. John Ford, brilliant director. His movies are legendary, but probably a little loony. Name the actors. William Holden was an alcoholic and absolutely had I don't think he had any self-control at all. Okay. That's what you're dealing with a lot of really talented people. But what we're dealing with, because these people aren't talented. I mean, Pablo sure as fuck isn't talented. What we're dealing with these people is a lot of problems that they have with trying to make it through the world as a grown-up. And that's all it is, really. That is all it is. Kennedy's ambitious. Obviously, she's not talented. Obviously, she's not very smart. If Cam is right, and the first article that came out from Forbes, and the guy that wrote it said, I've said all I have to say about it to the guys at Science Sci-Fi for You. And I talked about it yesterday. I don't know if it's Lucas behind it. I don't think it is. But the fact that it's California-based writer tells me it's probably Chapek. That he got the message from the investors, probably in private. We heard it public, but he was probably told in private, get a grip on this bitch. Okay. You can't do well at a business when you've got someone undermining your ability to make money. You know, and we're dealing with people who hate billionaires. I mean, we all saw Pablo's cutting remarks, the guillotine for rich people, and all the rest of this shit. That motherfucker makes 7 figures a year. 7. And he has the gall to go after you and me. You go all break up into groups and explain that to me. All right. Is he, you know, I know he lives in San Francisco, which is the most expensive city in the United States. And they're turning it into a third world Mogadishu. But that's the way commies like it. Left-wing fascists like it. But I'm like, are you talking about yourself? Because he makes more money in 1 year than my father made in his whole fucking life. And he's attacking people like me, people like you, people like my dad, every day for being wealthy and white and American and privileged. You know, I'm like, I can't. I just, you know, I can't. And and that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who are wealthy, but what did Michael Corleone say? This contempt of money is a trick of the rich to keep the poor from having any. I'm not poor, but I know that when I hear it. That line from Godfather 2 is right. It's a fact. And I know some stupid lefty jackass would take that as a quote to use for their side, and it's like, no, it's not what he meant. It's not what he meant. You know, and that's it. And you know, when a woman tells someone like Kathy Kennedy, I don't need your help. My life is fine without your voice interrupting me at anything. Girls right now are perfectly fine without Molly Damon, without rewriting Ripley, without all the rest of this shit. We have achieved equality. You know, we have. And, you know, I don't really care if we have a female president. We will someday. Maybe it'll be Kamala Harris. Maybe it won't be. But I guarantee you, I don't give a fuck. And the reason why is because I don't need that. I don't need things to validate me as a woman. And what we're dealing with these people destroying Star Wars, like, you know, hey, John 42, with their, you know, I've compared Kennedy and the story group to I compare them to the Taliban. I call them cultural Taliban. And the reason is they are bent on ruining everything that came before them. And it doesn't matter if it came 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. Classical Greece. They want to destroy it because everything that they weren't alive for is bad. They are what they hate. If you stare long enough into the abyss stares back at you. They have become the monsters that they abhor. Period. None of them speak for me. None of them speak for my black friends, my other female friends, Asian friends, Latino friends. None of them do. The thing, and I'll go back to rewriting Ripley, one of the things that really pissed me off is they added Bishop Robert Barron to the video. Are they so afraid of the Catholic Church? And he's not even political. And honest to God, they are so ignorant. They don't really know the things about anything about the church. They think it's full of hate and everything. No, it's not. It's not. And to put him on there is true defamation. That pissed me off. Okay, I'm like, I don't even consider him one of the conservative bishops. If they had put Cardinal Burke on there, I could see that. Now, Cardinal Burke is one of my favorite people. I got my first communion from him when I was a little kid. He was our diocesan priest when he was young. And we all knew he was going somewhere. That would piss me off, and that would be defamation because, again, they misinterpret love for hate. And they don't like having their weaknesses, their foibles, the things that make them human, pointed out to them. Okay? That's the problem we have. That's the problem with people like, I talked about yesterday. We're dealing with two girls who've never had a childhood that let them have imaginations. Kathy Kennedy is a woman who I think probably grew up in a family with no boys, and she has a twin sister, and I'll be scared. And Daddy probably wanted a son. So she spent her whole life trying to be the son her father never had. That's exactly what I'm looking at right here with her. I know I am. Pablo Hidalgo still suffers from probably the fact that his father was a Chilean communist who ran away from Chile to Canada with his mother. And, Daddy probably sat around coffee houses screaming about workers' rights, no job, no nothing, while Mom's part of the family. We had that, and hence why we get daddy hate porn from the story group. I mean, we're dealing with a generation of kids that didn't grow up in a normal household. And I'm going to say Kennedy didn't either. There are lots of ways families can be dysfunctional. And these people's reactions to criticism is the reaction of a dysfunctional person who grew up in a dysfunctional family with no father figure. All right, maybe mom paid attention, or maybe she didn't, or maybe she paid too much attention. But they insist they speak for us. When I remember when I was 20, whatever, and it was before I moved to DC, and I was sitting on the deck at my sister's house waiting, where I kind of hanging out. My oldest sister was home, and they started talking about women's rights. And I looked at them and said, don't you think we already have it? We're all wearing shorts and t-shirts, and it's warm outside, and we're not being chaperoned by the guys. They don't, I was trying to figure out everything, and they're looking at me like, yeah, but there's so much more work to do. It's like, what are you talking about? And then I realized how vastly different my upbringing was compared to my family's. I am the youngest of 9. My oldest brother would be 78 this year, April. Okay. My oldest sister is probably, 75 this year? That's and then of course there's everybody in between. That's a huge age gap. Huge. And it's really interesting to me that they couldn't see how far everything had gone from when they were kids. Instead of going, wow, Dad taught mine. Dad got stuff a shotgun and she's learning how to shoot it. Why did you do that? They're dangerous, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's the bullshit. Because if you're a feminist, women can't be allowed to defend themselves, or how dare we go out and hurt little animals? It's like, I just go, but that's what we're dealing with. People who didn't see the changes happening in front of them. They happened in front of Kathy Kennedy. She didn't see it happening. The changes were happening long before she ever showed up. When Lucille Ball and Desi created Desilu. And she was the boss. Who needs her lie of the glass ceiling being broken when it was broken a long time ago? By a woman who's far more creative, far more worthy of hero worship, who went through a lot of shit with an alcoholic husband, who was unfaithful. All right, and that's the thing, is there's Kathy Kennedy married to a man she's been married to since, the early 80s? And you've got her celebrating all this non-traditional bullshit, attacking men and all the rest of this crap. You got Lucille Ball, who'd never ever think of doing any of that shit, who had to end up finally divorcing her alcoholic husband. Who's the role model, if you will, for feminism? The one who talks about it a lot, or the one who actually did it? There you go. The phoniness and is just remarkable. And the fact that we all get to sit around and have to deal with their shit, and the generation they raised, the Pablo Hidalgos, the Matt Martins, the rewriting Ripley crew, the Michelle Buckmans, and all the rest of the shit. We all get to sit around and have to do this. And the reason is they were raised that way. They were raised that way. I mean, they really were. And they were raised that way by women like Kathleen Kennedy. And that's the bottom line. I mean, it's these trashy human beings who only exist to ruin everything that everybody loves. And it's just one of those things where you're like, I don't know what to say about this, any of this. I don't. Anyway, I've been on for an hour. I kind of probably straight off topic, but we'll see what happens this week. I don't know what is going on, but I know that we're behind the lines, behind the time in news. I know that the rewriting Ripley thing is just starting. All right. They will have a come to Jesus moment. Oh yeah, I know, Brian. I know. Ida Lupino. Interesting. Oh, Sherry Lansing too. I remember her being interviewed and all the rest of that stuff when I was a kid. That was back in the 80s. I mean, Kennedy is just a... No, I think it's going to get worse for them. This is just starting. Okay? No, Sakori. It's going to go... It's going to get worse for them. And I'm predicting that. And really, I think if it's ever opened up for Discovery, I think Disney's going to have to do something. If they don't do anything, do something now. But anyway, this is Steph. I got some phone calls to make, appointments to set up, dog to do something with, probably throw the ball. Throw the ball for him. He's got a ball cannon, and he loves it. He sees that thing going out there, and he just goes bonkers. So I'm gonna do that, and then probably get a workout in. You guys all be good. Take it easy, and something happens today because it is 1:21 right now. So it's 1, 12, 11, 10 in the morning on the East Coast. I'll see you around the galaxy.